Hi, this is Vishal, and one more time we are with one more session that's called your coroutines. And as I discussed with you last time, so we continue this tour with the other sessions also, how to work with the coroutine flow and how we can implement the big projects in it, like live data or RX Java. So we continue this tour with the Kotlin, and that means as we are working with the coroutine sessions, so this is a tour with the coroutine sessions and coming time also. So first we have to clear each and every topic related to the flow, so we can work on that, like live data and like a RX Java. And as we have discussed last time, the basics of the coroutine flow and coroutines, what be the use of that, and also we work with the dependency, how we can use that, how we can call a simple coroutine functions on that, and many more things as performance wise, and what's the difference between the RX Java and the coroutines, and how we can cancel it. So these all we have done, which dependency we need it. So a lot of stuffs we have worked with, and callbacks also. So now we have to use these simple examples of the flow, and now we have to work with a room and flow. So that is also bit important, as in my previous session we already discussed room with RX Java and room with the retrofit. So these all sessions we have done before, but now as we are continue with the Kotlin functionality, so with the Kotlin we are working with the room, with the flow, and also view model today. So simply we have to go for the simple structure, and that makes our apps easy, because of in many apps we need local databases. So today we choose the topic room and flow as the continue that session, and we have to work with the coroutine flow with your room and how we can implement it. As on my previous sessions we have to work with the room and your retrofit room and your simply live data room with your RX Java. So many sessions I have completed on that. So here we are working with the Kotlin. So here the basic things we have to learn, room and flow first, and then we go for the more complex structure inside that, how we can make that projects on. So this is a very simple view how we can work with room and flow, and the basic steps we have to learn. So before that I am very happy to see your lovely comments, and hope all are doing good in their lives. So just keep going on with the sessions and learn a lot of things. And also whenever I get a time, I check your comments, and there be the requirements I will fulfill in my sessions. So thank you so much and your lovely comments. Every time I feel happy to see that. So if you have any query and any anything you want to know, that you just put it on the comments. Whenever I get a time, I will check it. Thank you so much again for your love. Okay, so today we have to discuss what be the simply room structure, as we have done simply room many times, but how we can use it with the flow. So as we simply know that the room is the library added coroutine support for one-off operations. Simply we can work with your database structures, because before time we work with the simply database structures on, but whenever your room comes, it become very easy to work with the database on the local site. In many apps we have to work with our local databases, because of sometimes we need to sync, which we need to work on that. So a lot of things. So in the current implementations, only the user can trigger data fetchings, and the logics that schedules and updates the database every 3 hours, and likewise that. So these things we have to work with your latest data. So but basic thing is how we can work with simple room with example. So first we have to take a simple rule or simple steps, but I will show you practically these things, because steps with the theoretical and the practical manner, that is good for learning. So here simply we have a room, and we have to implementations like that. Then we have to need coroutines, as we put it on the last time on the Gradle. So same thing we have to work, but with the room. And if you go for the second steps, then we use the plugin Kotlin cat, otherwise it gives an issue to you. Then we go with your simply database structures, in which create our entity, our DAO, our database, and then we can call it, and then again we have to work with our main application, and then that main application call our database. And also we have to work with your view models and view model factory to call that, otherwise you can call it without that, but today we will we'll check how we can work with your view model factory. And then after that we have to create a models for that, and then adapter, then recyclerview in Kotlin, and then call coroutine your get data in recyclerview. So these steps you have to work with the flow. So let's see one by one in our practical Android Studio. So first step, we need to build a Gradle here. So let us start it in Android Studio. Okay, so on very first basic step we have to use this implementation, and for the capt compiler we need to put it as in the Kotlin capt, that ID, and sync now. So here the most important thing is, here we have a room, runtime, KTX, your compiler, your coroutine flow, and if you want to go for the life cycle you can use that. Okay, so that's very simple steps you have to work, and you can build your Gradle and see what happened on that. So that means build all successfully. Sometimes we left this ID, so that means it create an issue, and we go for the stack flow on that time. So just a simple steps, whenever you use your Kotlin capt, so you need that IDs. Okay, so the simple plugins we can use that for, and time to time you have to update all the things. Now as we are working that is on the Bumblebee also with the incoming queue, so I think most of the students have updated that. So that's simple. And now let us start our first basic step, how we can work with. That means we have to create our database in it. So first we have to go for our database package. So here we have to make our database, in which we have to work with a simple DAO, entity, and our database. Three things important we have to go for. So just simply go for. Okay, so on our first step we have to go for our database. So on database we have to create first our Kotlin class, and we have to create a data class. So whenever you make your data class, that means that is related to your models or your entities, that kind of things. So here I am giving the name that is called your student, that is our data class. So as we are making that as an entity, so we need it as a entity, and on your entity we can say that we use that entity as a whatever be the table name. So here I am giving that table name, and that table name I am giving student. That's simple. Now inside your data class we have to put our data, and that data we are using at primary key, and that key I am making a auto generate, and that auto generate I am making a true. Okay, so that's very basic thing, and we have to put it, that's your ID, and ID auto generate always be as an int. Now we have to go for our column info, and that's your column info. If you want to work with like a simple room, so there are a lot of things we already built it. make a comma, otherwise it not give you the column info. You can say that column info. Okay, so you can say this is your column info, and that column info is your name is, I'm giving the second student name, that is a column info. That's always be a string kind of things. So I'm giving that entity as a student name, and that is a string kind of things. Okay, so the first column is ID, the second column of the table is your name on the database, but here we have a student name. Okay, and now our third column, we are at column info, and I'm making that name as a phone. So three things I'm making at this time. So just simply check how we can work it. Whatever be the requirement, you can create your table on that. So this is our integer type kind of things. Okay, so that's, and if you want to make more, you can use that commas and lot of things be there, just simply. So I think this is a simple structure of a student here. And on the second step, we have to go for our student DAO. So let's see how we can implement that DAO. So for this, what to do? You just make a Kotlin, and that is a interface, and that name I'm giving to that student DAO. Okay, so that is a simple structure of DAO, and the top you can say that this is your DA. Okay, so inside that you have to create your methods which we can implement it. Okay, so inside your DO you have to insert something, so you can say that at insert, and insert on that I'm using at this time on conflict. Okay, alt enter first on conflict, and here I'm using a on conflict strategy dot replace. So whatever be you want, if you do not want to go with your on conflictions, you can just do that. Otherwise sometimes where we need to conflict issues, you can do the same. And here I'm making a add data. That's not means that's not a necessary part, but I'm using at this time. And here you can say that is student, and that's your student. Very simple. So this is to add the record as an entity in your database. And now the other is for a query purpose. So you can say that query, and inside that query you can say that select start from a student. So here this is a simple query, by that you can use ascending, descending, whatever. So this is your get all, and inside that all the most important thing is here we can work with the flow. Okay, so here we are working with the flow, and alt enter. So here on the top it's showing the coroutine flow, then we have a util and other things, but we have to work with the flow of the coroutine at this time. Okay, so that's our coroutine Kotlin X flow, and here I'm making a list, and I want a list of kind student. So this is a very simple structure by which we can get our records and add our record. So this is a simple student DAO. That's interface we have to create. And the last we have to create for our database, and you can create a Kotlin class file, and that kind of class file is abstract. So you can use that class student database. I think we already created many times this, and here you can just on the top you can put it whatever be a database name. and here you can make it as a abstract kind of. So that means abstract scenario, abstract functions, we can use it. Okay, so as we have done with your DAO and simple entity, now we have to work with our database, and we have created abstract class. And for this, first you have to go for your room database. So you can use that, and you can use as in a room database. So I think that's an easy, and we already done in my previous lectures how we can use the room in a Kotlin. So if you are a beginner, you can just go for that. Otherwise, here I just give the steps again for making a database. So this is a simple room database, and on the top you can use our database at, this is the database, and inside your you can put all your entities. So this is your array of entities, so you can put it array of, means you can put all the entities here. So here I'm using a student entity, so dot class, and you can use that comma separator and make all the entities be here. And also which version you want it, I want the first version here. So that's for simple, whatever you put it on your entity with the versions. That's, and now you have to call your DAO for making your to get access that functionality. So you can say that abstract font, and this is your student DAO, and here I'm making that student DAO. So here we can get access the things here. And now the last is your, as we have done with the companion object, and we have done lot of things with this. So I already described you what is the companion object, and a complete lecture given on that. So you can create an instance, and this is your instance I'm making, and that instance I'm making for the student database. And at a start I'm making it as a null. Okay, so these are simple, and that's you can put it at, otherwise not. So that's your volatile, and this all I had described on my previous sessions. So you can just learn that how we can use or implement that. So now after that you can just go for your database, and that database I'm using the context of, and that context we can refer to as a student database. So this is our student database, we can get access, and here what happened, yeah, here we have to return the thing. So here you can just simply say the return of your instance, and that instance, whenever you return, it should be like in a synchronized form, and that synchronized with your whatever be your you can call this, oh sorry, this is okay, you can call this. So but that not completed, and lot of things be here. So here you can just use it one more time as in, and here inside lot of things, lot of stuffs we have to put it. So let's see what to do for the return that things. So here inside this, whenever you create this, you can create one more instance. This is called your val instance, and that instance you have to work with your room, and that's your dot, you can go for that database builder, and that is the most important. And for this context we have to use that, and this is the context, and for that you have to work with your student database. So this is your simple student database, and here we can use class dot java. Okay, so and here whatever be the name of your student database, you can just put it student. I'm using the database name be here. Okay, So once it's done, and one more thing you have to know that about many times it happens and it gives a issues on, so you just go for all the main thread queries. So because of sometimes it can hang with this, and it get refused or lot of stuffs be there, that means it gives an error on that, so you have to use that for the queries build. Okay, and here we have an instance, and that instance we have to work with this instance. And this is our instance that is called your synchronized. So that's very simple step you have to work with. So this is your get database. So I think we already described this companion like your, as we have done the singleton type. Okay, so I already described in complete lecture that is. So this is a simple database structure whenever you work on. So once it's ready, you have to create a view model factory, and a database model simply that we can fetch it on our UI site. So that's the simple scenario. So once this database done, and one more thing, a small step, that is if you want to go for the application call, so you can use that. So I will describe you how you can use the application call also. So just simple steps. So first step is we have to work with simple student. Second step, we have create DAO. Third step, we create a database in Kotlin with an easy way. Okay, so now we have to go for a next step, that is called application. Okay, so after creating this database, that means we have three steps we have done: student DAO, and then student database. Now we have to create a main application, which we have to call that application name. So we have to go for the Kotlin class file, and whatever you want to give the name, you give it to, just like your app class or student application. I'm giving that name is a student application at this time. Okay, and this is the student application class, and now the simple step is whenever you created that, you simply say that application, just like as you done with the applications simply in Android. Okay, and you just create that, call its constructor, and now once it's done, you can say that well database, whatever be your database, and I want to call that student database, and that database by I want to go for the lazy, and that lazy is a student database dot get database this. So whenever you want to access it, so simply say that the student application name, where in your main manifest file. So that's simple steps we have to follow. Okay, and now we have to move for the next step, that is important because we have done the backend part simple, and now for the front end part we need a recycler view and other steps. But in Mediator, what we needed are view models. So you have to create that package for view models simply as you have done for the life cycle, live data, whatever be. Okay, so here you have to create a one more Kotlin class file, and you can just create a student view model. So here you can create a multiple view models, whatever be your requirement. Okay, and in this class you have to go for your private val, and inside you can say that is student DAO. I want to call that simply student DAO, and we have to extend that as a view model. Okay, so that's our view model, we have to get access this simply. And once this view model be there, you need a simple functional properties that means you have to call some functions be here, which we need to call it by the DAO. So that's your flow. We are working with the flow, so that means alt enter coroutine flow. Whenever you get access, you just please check that the flow is always be the coroutine Kotlin coroutines flow.flow. So that's important. And here you can work with your students, that is your student, and I want to call it as a student DAO. Just a minute. Function flow list, and that with a list of the student, where I think there is an issue. Yeah, student DAO, just give the gap to that, okay, and get all. So that is the first function in which we can fetch our data, and the second is your fun insert data. Okay, so under that I am not making a with the flow. If you want to go with the flow, you can just put it. I am just making with the simple. So this is your student DAO dot add data, and here I am adding the data student, and under that student I want to pass first data here. You can take an input, so Ajay and comma 1 2 3 4 whatever be 1 2 3 2, that's our phone number. Okay, so three things we have to insert on the button click. So we have to go for a scenario for the UI, but for that, how you can call that in your main activity, you need to create a one more file that is called your student view model factory. And the other approach also be, but today we check how we can go for the student view model factory, because of I have checked many issues on the Stack Flow where students or learner get hanged with that. So I am making this, that means it become easy for you. Okay, so here a simple view model factory, we have to go for that approach. So just let's start it with the model factory. Okay, so for creating the view model factory, what to do, you just here we have to pass whatever be our interface be there. So interface is our private val student DAO, okay, and here we have to call that view model provider by which we can pass that factory. So this is our factory. Okay, so here it say that there be some implementations for those methods we need to call it. So say implementation of those methods. Okay, so once it's done, that means our view model be there. Now we have to create a method here in this to do part, and this is our model class and everything be there. And now what to do, we have to call that if here our model class dot is assigned from. Okay, so that means our student class, that means it is interact with our student view model, and that is our class dot java. So that means if it is exist on those, so we have to go for our suppress unchecked, but return that view model before that. So first we have to return that and return our student view model, and that is our student DAO. So that means whenever you get interact with this, it always work with like this. Okay, so that is the returning of those points be here. So this is a very simple structure, and if you want to throw, you can just work on in illegal argument exception if there be any needed, and you can just say that whatever be you want to do that, just like your unknown, if there is some issue on that. So unknown view model class. Okay, so sometimes what I'm talking about, sometimes we can suppress those things, but if it is needed then do, otherwise no need. Okay, so first we do it. Okay, let's see how you can suppress it. So sometimes it create an issue, so we are suppressing it, otherwise no need of that in old files. So I already described you how you can suppress the things before in my lectures. So you just say that if any issues be like that, you can just say that unchecked underscore and your cast if it is needed, otherwise no need of this. Sometimes it create an issue, so you can use that. Okay, so we can suppress the things returning on that view models or any issues on related to that. So everything is ready. We have a view model factory and database hour. Now we have to go for the UI work because of middle layer and the your last layer, that means on the backend layer, data layer already be there. Okay, so what to do, you just go for a simple linear layout, and inside your linear layout, what to do, you just go for orientations, and I'm just making a very simple structure. On the top I'm putting the button, and on the bottom I'm using the recycler view. So this is a match parent wrap, and this is your ID, you can save data, and this is your text for save, and this is a margin like I'm making a 8dp. That's all. Okay, so this is a simple structure, and beyond that we have to work with the recycler view. Recycler view, we have a match parent, wrap contents, and ID is your recycler view, and also be your margin. So margin is your same 8dp. So that's a simple structure scenario we have to work, and this is our design, nothing else. So on which we have to call this button and save our data in the room, and here we can check our retrieved data on that cases. So simple it is. So for this what to do, you have to create a simple structure for adapter and for your internal UI to see the names of the students for that. So this simple database we have creating the new view models. Now we have to create our UI part. So let's see how to do. So for the student view adapter, first we need it as a inner class view holder, as we have done many times, and in my previous sessions you can check that how we can create this kind of recycler views in a Kotlin. But now those are new, you can check it here also. So first we have to create an inner class here, and that inner class I am making for a student view model. Okay, so this is your student view holder. So I am making a holder class first, that hold whatever be the values of the layout be there, and here I'm simply making it as a view, and then say that the view, and that's very simple. Alt enter, and on the view you just get access the recycler view here, and you just call that dot view holder, and which kind of holder it is, this is our view kind of holder. Okay, so that's be the thing, you can just get it from a layout. And also I want to check that layout for this. So okay, so first you can extend that as a recycler view holder be here. So I'm passing my value, I'm passing the value of the where, and here I'm making a student list, and as I told you that we can get access the direct list for the entity, and I will show you how you can work with also your models. Okay, and here I'm just directly call that list student, and get extend it with the recycler view adapter, and that adapter we can use it the student view holder. So here this is the student view holder, okay. And also one thing we need it, okay, so that's it. It's showing to you that you can call that constructor we have. Okay, so here it showed you the implement members. You can implement all the members here. So I'm making all the members get together and see that. So for this on create view holder, we need to implement such a inner layout. So for this, what to do? I'm just making a very simple layout. I'm not making an on such a some design work here. I just do it a very simple view for the practicing how you can work with the flow. Simple, you can do it with your program, and rest will continue for the more complex things be there. So I'm making a inner layout. I'm giving the name of the inner layout, and here I'm making the wrap contents, and here I'm just making a simple linear layout approach, and orientation I'm making as a vertical, okay. So that's very simple. And here I'm just taking the text view. Don't waste our time, just make very simple way, and that is your ID, and ID is your student name, okay. And here the margin 5 dp, and text size is your 16 dp, and text is your, you can say that, the name at this time. And just follow this and copy paste, and just change the ID, and I am making that student 4, and you can just put it as R4 and check that layout it's working. Yes, this is the name and the 4, very simple. So now we have to back on your adapter. On that adapter, what to do? You have to call first your layout inflator here. So for creating the layout inflator, what to do? You just go for your whale item view, and that item view I'm making for the layout inflator, and that inflator dot from, and you can just go for your parent here, and that parent dot context be here. So this is our parent context in which we can just get it for the item view. That's very easy. And if you want to work for inflate, you can just say the inflate. Which kind of source layout we need it? We need it as source layout dot inner. So alt enter, and here we have a inner layout, okay. And here once you create your inner layout, you can just say that your parent we have, and this condition I am making the false here. I think I already described this. These are inflations walk be there, okay. And once these things be ready, you can just return your student view holder, and that view holder with your item view, because of we are returning the view here, okay. So this is your first step, very first step in which we can work it. On the second step, we can return our list here. So you can return that list, student list we have, just returning with that size of that particular list, okay. So these things, these should be ready. Now we have to go for that inflations, and here we can just get it with the where I'm making a title, and that title or we can say that student name, and that name I am working with there a simple text view. There we are calling the text view, and that text view we can use that view dot from find view by ID, and that our ID dot your student name. You can just take it as a student name here, okay. And the same thing you have to work with for the second ID, and you can use it with for the variable, and that's called our phone. and that phone is your student phone. You can just call that number, that value. This is a very simple. And the last is your on bind view holder. So how we can use that bind view holder? We need it to use that. So for that, what to do? You just go for the val student, and I'm making that student at this time, and that is your student list, and that student list I'm taking as an up position, and that position I am using, and on that position you can just show that holder dot student name dot, you can just put it on the text, and that's your student dot your student name. That's very simple. And the same thing you can work with your the student phone. So you can just go for the student phone, and you can just call that student. I think we have to call that phone also. So just hold it down. We can check it for the name, and then let's see what happened on that student. Yeah, here we have done the wrong thing here. So here we have to work with student phone at that day. So you have to go for again and check that the holder be like student phone. Okay, so it just show to you what happened on that to string. Okay, so these things are simple. We can go for your adapter values. So once it's done, we can call that in a recycler view, and how we can add the data. These all we have to work it on our main activity. Now let's see what to do with the main activity now. Okay, now how we can get access our view model in main activity. So there are many approaches, as we are worked with the view model factory. So how you can call it directly also, you can see that. So here first you just simply practice on that, and then I will describe you more ways, and I think I already described you 2 or 3 ways to call the view model in your main activity. So just simply say that this is your private, and this is your val, and this is your main view model, or whatever you give the name, student view model or whatever, it depends on you. And here you just call it as a student view model. Okay, and inside by that you can use that by lazy. I think I already described what is the lazy, but I will explain it more in one of the session completely on based on the lazy. So what's the work of the lazy and how we can call that. These small things are very useful whenever you create your applications. So here you can just say that this dot run, and inside that run you have to, this is show to you that in main activity it get runs be here, and here you can just call that view model providers dot off, and you can just simply call it as this comma, and this is our student view model factory which we have created. Okay, and which kind of student view model factory it is. So you just go for this, and dot application, and which kind of application it is, as a student application. You can call it without applications also. So there are other approach, and dot database, as we are working in the database, student do. So we can get access all the methods related to that application of student database. Okay, and once it's done, so you can use that get, and that get we need it as a student view model colon class.java. Okay, so that's we have done in a single line. So this is our view model providers, this is our student view model factory, and then get database. Okay, so this is the way you can just simply run that part. So this, and if you want to throw any exceptions on that, sometimes you need it, so you can simply say that this is your question mark, and you can throw any exceptions be here. So likewise this, so I think there is okay, so no need of that if you want to work. Okay, so this kind of exceptions be like that, but I'm not using this at this time because of lot of new story create on that. So simply you can just simply call that be the view model factory be there. If you want to throw that error, so I will describe you some other day how you can throw that. So now you can, this is a main activity, and here first we check it with our button, it works or not. So you can say that this is our button, and that button we have to use that variable and get access that button like a find view by id, or you can just directly calling with that. So I am using the button, and that button is your r.id.save data. Okay, and that button dot set on click listener, and this is on click listener. And now whenever you want to click it, that means this is your my view model or main view model dot insert. So you can check that we can directly command it like this. You can just go on that, and this is our student do, and here I am fixed that data. But on the second time what we do, we just simply call it dynamically. So for that you can create a UI. Okay, so for this what to do, I'm just using the mirror of my real device, but before we started you can see that this is a simple button save be here. Okay, and now what to do, the main thing is that whenever you go with this, you need a name of that particular application by which we can get access it. And also here nowadays we need it one more thing, whenever you created an activities, that is export it. Okay, so once it run, we have to go with your main activity, and let's see what happens with this. Okay, whenever we interact with this, so this is our save. So that means data saved here when we click it. Now how we can see that? There be the DB Explorer, you can go for the DB Explorer like a view, and this is a tool window, and here this is a device file explorer, and by that you can undergo for the data, then data, and here you can choose your application and then see, select it. So this is the way. But as we are working with the recycler view, so we directly get accessing this data on our recycler view, so we can check that this is coming or not, or giving an error. So using the flow, the main thing is how we can use that flow here. So let's see. Okay, so once our save data be ready, that means once we saved the values in a room, then now we have to go for the adapter which we created. So you can just say that let any to where, and this is your student view adapter we just create it. Okay, and once it's be created, then we have to call our recycler view here. So I'm just making that. There are many ways, many approaches, but I am using just simple approach, so can new learner can learn it easily way. So this is a recycler view. Okay, so once these to be ready, and then we have to go for our recycler view dot layout manager, and that's your layout manager, linear layout, and yes, and then say this. Okay, so once this be done, that's all be done. Then we have the most important thing, that is we have to go for a coroutine. So you can just go for the lifecycle dot coroutines scope, and then this is your launch. And then once it's be the launch, and what we needed to call our view model. So that means we have to call for our main view model. So we can just check the data, that is students we need it, and then we have to need a collect. So just you needed to check that which collections you need it. Collect, this is for list, and also there will be the many collections be here. There are, you can see that these to be the two collections you can find out. So we need to go for the first one, where we can find it a list of that student. Okay, not a collect method be there. Okay, so this to be ready, and you can go for your student view adapter, and that adapter we have to call for the student view adapter, and here you can pass that the list of the data. Okay, and that's very simple. And now you get to go for the recycler view adapter, and that is your student view adapter. These be a simple steps you have to learn. So first we have done view model creations, that is you can just access that your view model here which we have created. This is the using the your student view model factory, in which we have passed our student DAO that approaches to here, and this is a main activity. So now let's see what happened with this, the result. Okay, so we can see that this is our values, this is a save data, and this is a simple name which is Ajay1232. Okay, so if you want to insert more data on your database, so we have to go for that student geo, and for this we have to create the values of that. So on this we have a simple student view model, and here I am using the second one is Vijay, and the name is, so this is the auto increment, so no need of this because of it replaces the things. And if you do not want to send it, so there are other approaches if you don't want to send that IDs. Okay, so now one more time, if you want to see that how we can edit or how we can use it, so you simply run that data, and then we have to add, because of we haven't used that notification, so as a runtime it never works. Okay, so it is for a 1 by 1, it getting as a 1 by 1. Okay, so once we save that data here, just a minute, I reconnected the device here. Yeah, some issues be going on. Yeah, it is connected. Now I restart it. So you can see that it showed to you the Ajay and Vijay. So these to be the data, you can save it. So that's the way you can work it. If you want more data, you can just insert that records. If there is a duplicacy, it never works, because of we already applied that replaces the previous one. Okay, so that's the simple approaches you can work with your room flow example. And as I told you, you can just use the models also. So in a model, instead of going to student, you just create a student model in which you simply get and set the data. That I will discuss with more complex things with this room flow. So the basic thing is you have to learn that how we can use this flow be like. So you, whenever you work with this, you can say that whatever be your coroutine scope launch and these things. Okay, this you have to work with also for the insert, during the insert and where you want to that data be inserted response. So it works be like that. So just first practice on this simple rule. First we have create a simple database, the steps be learning steps be there, simple entity we have done the DAO, we have done created the student database, then we create a simple application. That applications we can use it here on the Android name application, very simple. Then we go for our student view model. Here we define our function declarations we have done, and then we have to go for to access the data. There is a student view model factory. You can create a multiple this factory for the multiple models also, and then last you just call for the adapters for the recycler view. That's very easy. And then you have to go for your main activity. Here on the button you just save the data, and on recycler view you just return our data. So these be the simple steps you have to work with like. So that's the approach in your room. So just practice on, and I will give the more sessions related to the flow, that is the more complex sessions. So that means whenever you want to choose live data or RX Java or the flow, you can choose it in a Kotlin, but flow is very easy and you can just use for the complex data structures also. So we'll describe you with the retrofit also, and web API how we can use it. So these all we have to go for the coming sessions in the Kotlin. Thank you so much for the day. Thanks a lot.